There was a great amount of anticipation with Resident Evil 4, not just if the game would be good, but whether or not it was going to be politically correct. Surprisingly, the game came out fine. I've only played the demo, but from what I've seen, everything looks okay. The major issue lying more in the fact that the game is now ironically more horror than action. It seems that the roles have been reversed from when traditional fans did not want a more action-focused title. Now it's the action fans who've been played. In terms of visuals and aesthetic, the game is still pleasing. I was the first to call New Jill ugly, and was ready to do the same with Ashley, but now that I look at her again, new Ashley isn't that bad. Even Ada, who was heavily covered up, still looks good, and you can tell that she's in shape under her clothes. I don't know, however, if that's a compromise, giving her a good figure but keeping her heavily dressed. Despite all this, Ashley is pretty feminine and often in distress, like a normal young woman would be in this kind of situation. Might as well go for realism all the way. I mentioned this because this is the exact kind of thing that Capcom singled out in their document and said they no longer want to see in their games. Seeing how their games were going, it's a surprise they did such a 180. For one, their female characters are heavily censored in their fighting games because of esports, and they specifically mentioned the examples of Jury in SF5 and Armika's butt. It also doubles as a way to be friendly for broadcasting, but also for the heavy left crowd. At the end of the day, however, we both know the sport beer chugging crowd that tune in to the sports channel are simple-minded men who have simple tastes and would quite appreciate the finesse of Armika's butt, virtual or not. If you thought, however, that they changed their minds, you would be wrong, but let's first go back for now. Regarding the women of past games, they single out Ellie and new Lara as examples of female depiction. Ellie has been heavily masculinized in 2, and we both know Neil Druckmann's stance in regards to politics. That explains why Claire is, and I repeat, quite the butterface. Also, before you try to correct me, yes, despite taking into account personal taste, there is objective quantification of what is attractive. It simply relates to survival and what traits are useful in nature. There is a reason why women want mostly tall men with broad shoulders. In the case of men, because our survival is not dependent upon the women, we tend to have more variety and therefore subjectivity in our choices. Despite this, if you gave a 10 out of 10 woman to a man, even if he doesn't like women with long black hair, he would probably say yes. And regarding the few women who chose shorter men, if you give them the option to have their men be taller, they would probably say yes. They probably took that man despite the fact that he was small and not because he was small. There's a reason why there's mod for Claire's face in RE2 and not Ada's. Regarding Jill, they straight up just ripped off the new design of Lara, regardless of sex appeal in terms of character design. Combat boots with wife beater is quite a bland design for a character in general. As for the document itself, it was quite hard to find. It's been scrubbed mostly from the internet. For a while I only had a resetter post to refer to that, and it wasn't quite enough. I don't think I have the entire thing, but I managed to find more than the 2 untranslated screenshots I initially had. As we can see, it's riddled with the usual talking points. Correction. After a lot of research, I've managed to find not only the article, but also other articles showing confirmation of what I advanced and the recontextualization of my knowledge. Capcom has demanded that the site Nexus ban nude mods of RE4, so as mentioned previously, we're indeed not out of the woods yet. That also mostly applies to Ashley again, always going after the Caucasians, specifically the white woman. Something similar happened with RE2. Claire was definitely not on her visual A game compared to Ada and Leon. Also, upon a closer look, I can see looking at the mods again why Ashley and Ada look good, but still a bit uncanny. Again, her tastes are influenced by evolution and survival. You can clearly see that the chin area is pretty wide, and therefore the jaw is larger. giving a masculine look. In the case of Ada, the nose is also larger, wider, and the lips bigger. And yes, voluptuous lips are good, but a bigger mouth is a bit less feminine. At first the changes seemed innocuous, but when you focus, you see it. Your reptilian brain sees it even if you don't. Finally, let me introduce you to the narcissist prayer. That didn't happen, and if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. When that documentation came out, it was dismissed, especially by the left-leaning outlets like Recetera. But that is not surprising. It's like saying the KKK does not like black people. Afterwards, it was then proven, but you see it wasn't that bad. No, really, IGN said it. Furthermore, people will tell you that it wasn't them, or you're blaming the wrong people, that they don't mean it, but they do. That, or they willingly ignore it, make fun of it, and try to dismiss it.
Stand on with this, like, she's too ugly. Just fucking get it on PC, nerd, and download a pretty face mod or whatever. You nerd. Or how about you uninstall the game, you sell your PS5, and you go and get some bitches. How about that?
And finally, it was actually okay to push the thing that we both agreed was bad, but they denied the existence of. The goalpost will always be moved, and you will always be lied to, but ultimately, it is the fault of your fellow citizen who accepts such thing. We have the industry we deserve, and if we said no, we would not be in this predicament in the first place. Ah, fucking shit. You gotta be fucking kidding me. How was that not... Fuck off. And it's done. It's over. There you go. You should have waited for the doors to open.
That's what I call winning in style.
Yeah, that ass whoop, nigga. Low tier cut, what?